Hello, and welcome to Legal Affairs. My name is Diamond Liddy, and I'm the public defender for the 19th Judicial Circuit. We are going to have a very interesting, eye-opening, educational program today with Iola Mosley. How are you, Iola?
I'm doing great, Diamond. It's good to see you, and thank you for having me here.
No, this is wonderful. Iola is the executive director of FRLS, which stands for Florida Rural Legal Services. And we're going to learn all about that. Before we find out about Iola, I just want to start by saying the reason I wanted you to be on the show is that I get calls at least once a week saying, I'm indigent, I'm poor, but I need help with a landlord-tenant situation, whatever. I don't, please help me. And I legally cannot help them. So I send them to Florida Rural Legal Services, and of course you help them. But I don't think the public is aware of the magnitude and the great work that Florida Rural Legal Services does. So, with that being said, Miss Mosley, let's start. You are a lawyer, obviously.
Yes.
Let's go back to the very beginning. Where did you grow up in Fort Pierce?
No, actually, I grew up in Palm Beach County and Broward County.
Okay.
So I went to Nova High School, yay Titans, and I attended Howard University undergrad and law school. Okay. I moved back then to Palm Beach County, and I had friends in the public defender's office. And it was there that I cut my teeth as a lawyer. Oh, wow. I learned how to try cases. I learned how to protect the interests of my clients.
No, that's a great place to start.
And from there, I was there for about 12 years.
I was going to say, you were there for a while.
I was in private practice. I worked for the city of West Palm Beach briefly, and then I was at the school board.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was a prosecutor.
I was going to say, you worked for Mr. Kirsch.
I worked for Barry Krischer, and I worked in the domestic violence division. I did misdemeanors. I was the domestic violence person.
Wow.
And I did a lot of the battery crimes against women and against men. A lot of people don't know men are also victims of domestic violence.
Oh, yeah.
After that, I went to the school board. And there I learned about protecting the interests of students. I did work for the school board, but my primary concern was to make certain that children were educated and they received educational services and to the greatest extent possible.
Right.
And, following that, I came to the city of Fort Pierce.
And what year was that?
That was in 2016.
Wow,
I left the school board in 2016, came to the city of Fort Pierce, and I was a deputy city attorney. Jim Messer was the city attorney.
Right.
And I worked there for about 3 years. And then, we had a change in city attorney, change in elected officials. I felt more comfortable going back to my roots. So I went to ORCC.
Which is, because people don't know what that means.
Office of Regional Conflict, Counsel, thank you.
And that office, for those who don't know, handles conflict cases from our office.
Yes.
Meaning cases, for example, 3 people go into the 7-Eleven to rob them, and they're all, to rob 7-Eleven, they're all arrested, and each one is saying, I wasn't there, he was,
exactly.
I wasn't. Then we can't represent all 3 of them because it would be a conflict.
And we would get one.
Right, and so regional counsel would get one. So.
And I have to say I did enjoy my time there. And then an opportunity in 2020, an opportunity came about to work with Florida Rural.
Okay.
And I said, wow, it's been a while since I've done civil. And as I listened to the person who was explaining to me what they did, I was like, well, this is the same thing I've been doing my whole life, is making certain that the needs of people the legal needs of people who are indigent are covered and that they have representation.
And you've been there.
Oh my goodness! Now this is 4 years coming up.
Okay.
And
but you're the big poobah.
I know, isn't that fantastic? I started as just a staff attorney. I was a contract staff attorney. I became a managing attorney, and then for whatever reason, the Legal Services Corporation said we want her to be the executive director for now.
Yeah.
And it was an interim position, which you know I'm glad for because I live in Fort Pierce. And so I'm a St. Lucie County girl. My children graduated from St. Lucie County schools.
Right.
My youngest child. And she's gonna be an engineer.
Oh, okay.
Just saying. I got one that's a doctor and one's an engineer.
Good.
I love it.
And proud president, right?
Yes. How about it? So at this juncture, I will be returning as managing attorney in the Fort Pierce office, which covers the entire 19th Circuit.
Okay, you have to explain this to the viewers and me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Florida Rural Legal Services, is that considered a state agency?
No, it is not. We are a private law firm.
Okay,
but we serve clients. We serve an indigent population mostly.
Okay.
We do have grants that allow us to serve people, for example, victims of crime under our VOCA Act. And we can serve those individuals because VOCA doesn't have the stringent poverty guidelines that we have to follow with Legal Services Corporation.
Well, okay, let's back up.
Okay.
So you're funded by federal grants?
We are funded,
or state grants, or both?
Federal, private, and some state grants, county grants as well.
Okay.
Because we have grants with the Board of County Commissioners for Martin, St. Lucie, I think, Okeechobee, within the 19th Circuit. But in other counties, we're across 13 counties in the state.
Okay. In the state,
in the entire state. It's not just here, in the St. Lucie County or the 19th Circuit.
Right.
But we also serve the 20th Circuit. We're in DeSoto County. We're in Fort Myers. We're in Immokalee. We have a farm worker program in Immokalee.
Oh, I know about
the
that.
migrant farm worker program. It is
phenomenal.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
And we're now engaged in a huge lawsuit where we're adjudicating the rights of farm workers. So, and we had gotten away from that, you know, from the litigation aspect, but I'm trying to bring us back to be true litigators and true fighters for justice for people in the civil arena.
Okay, so there is not an FRLS like in Tallahassee?
No.
Okay,
now
so you're just in a certain area in Florida.
Yes.
Oh, so we're blessed.
Beach. Yeah, Palm Beach, Fort Myers, Lakeland, Immokalee, Belglade, and Fort Pierce. And
whose idea was that?
Florida Rural started in 1967. Remember the movie Harvest of Shame?
Yes.
That was Florida Rural. We spearheaded the fight for migrant rights or for farm worker rights back in 1967.
Wow, and it blossomed from there.
It blossomed from there, and now we do housing, we do bankruptcy, and bankruptcy's under a different grant, so the qualifications are higher. We do family law. We do immigration. And we're looking for another immigration attorney, but I didn't say that. We're looking for it. But you know, we practice across a large area of civil
arenas.
Civil arenas. Thank you. And one of the most important things that we do is educating the public. We have coming up the 19th Circuit bench bar. We've been doing the bench bar for ages. It's
a one-day conference.
It's a one-day conference. This year it's going to be at the Hutchinson Island Resort. I think next year we're moving to the Finn Center. I've heard.
Oh, really? Okay.
Possibly Finn Center. But we bring together members from the bench, the judges. We bring together attorneys from all areas of practice. And we discuss and we teach and we make certain that people understand our obligations as attorneys and members of the bench to the public. It's just a reminder.
Well, it's, you know, for any, now it's geared towards lawyers, obviously. Yes. Can a non-lawyer attend?
They can attend. They have to pay for a ticket.
Okay,
they can attend if they're interested. Absolutely.
Okay, and that goes to my point, which is it's a tremendous networking opportunity for lawyers. There's no question on that. But it's educational because there's panel discussions. There's judges who talk about what goes on in a courtroom. There's a whole panoply, if you will, of topics, and it's really really interesting.
Yeah, and people, we get an opportunity at a bench bar to directly address the judges, because you can't do that in court.
Right.
You can't go up to a judge and say, hey, what were you thinking about?
Yeah.
But you have an opportunity to ask those critical questions. And it's a forum that, you know, there's no judgment, and hopefully the judges won't remember if you were rude. But you know, it's a forum that allows for the free discourse and exchange of ideas on how we as members of the bar can elevate our practice and can do better.
There's so much to talk about with you. We're never going to get to it in a half an hour, but I have to ask. So we are blessed to have you help people in the civil arena who are poor do certain things and be represented. What do they do in the areas of the state where they don't have you?
Well, there are other legal aid organizations throughout the state. There are legal I mean, as far as Monroe County to the south, all the way up to
Key
Tallahassee.
West, right.
And in fact, we work with Legal Services of North Florida, shameless plug at this point. You know, and they do a marvelous job with disaster services, because now we have branched out into disaster relief. We work with the Red Cross. We work with Suncoast Disaster Services.
So you all network throughout the state. There's just certain.
And we work with and we work in conjunction with other legal aid organizations. A very cooperative environment, and I love that. Okay.
What happens with my office is I get calls all the time. You know, I've got a domestic situation. I've got a situation where my wife got custody of the children, whatever, she's not letting me see them. We don't, obviously, the public defender's office doesn't handle that. So I send them to you. But do you handle that type of case?
Yes, we do. We do paternity cases. We do child support. We do limited modifications under certain circumstances. We do divorce. And, you know, it's all about protecting the rights of our clients when they go into that legal arena. So if there is an individual who, you know, you had as a client, and the wife or the husband has taken the children, we will go in and we will fight for getting that parent's rights restored. We will file whatever motions need to be filed. We will go into court and argue. We don't always win, but you know, it's not a winning, 100% winning game. But we do the best that we can.
Sure. Let's back up though. What is the criteria? Now let's back up even further, because I don't have a good picture of this.
Okay.
Your office represents the 19th Judicial Circuit, which is Okeechobee, Stewart, Vero, and Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie. Your office is located where, Iola?
My office, we have two offices. One in Stewart. And the other is located in the city of Fort Pierce, right on 2nd Street. It's right on the main bus route and lots of ample parking. But it's right across the tracks from City Hall. Think of it.
And if they want services from you folks, how do they do they go online and make an appointment? Do they call the office? How does that work?
That's a good question, because there's several ways. They have to go through an intake process because we have to see if they are qualified.
In other words, if indeed they are indigent to qualify for your services.
And also if we have no conflicts of interest. Now, typically, we are not going to take a case if someone is currently incarcerated. Because our main funder will not permit that. But we will tell people, as soon as you get out, give us a call quickly before the other side calls us. So that there's no conflict of interest. But we serve the population of indigent, we serve victims of crime.
What would a victim of crime need from you?
Well, there are a lot of protections, in Marcy's law. There are protections that are in place in law for people who are victims of crime. There are also services, say, for example, if someone is the victim of a domestic violence act. They need to alleged victim of a domestic violence act. They can come through for injunctive relief. We do refer a lot of our injunction cases out to Safe Space and to Silo and I think Martha's House. I think is another area that we will refer out to from time to time. But they also reciprocate with the other family issues like custody and I had one case where a gentleman's relatives were the relatives of the spouse, and the spouse had died, were keeping the child away from this man, and he wanted to be able to see his child. That's all he wanted, to be able to have contact with his child, and they were blocking it. Well, a conflict of interest developed subsequent, and I had that case as a matter of fact, and I provided the documentation. I was getting ready to file, and somebody from my office was like, "Whoa, conflict check! You cannot take this case." I was like,
"Oh no!
Oh no!" So we referred him out, and here's some documentation you can use, but we can't adjudicate this case for you. I think he eventually did get the visitation rights and the custody rights that he wanted, because he had some other issues going on as well.
But things like injunctions and that kind of thing.
Injunctions for protection, injunction from neighbors who are I don't want to say the Karens of the world, but there are people who feel that their neighbors have no rights in their own property interests. So, they sometimes we have, the people who take the cameras, they put it over the fence, or they yell, that they're going to do horrible things to XYZ over the fence. And
now, what about condominium things?
Oh my gosh, we don't get a lot of condo cases.
Really?
No, we don't. Because usually, with condominiums, they don't qualify as a victim of crime. If they do, then we'll take the case. Or, they are making too much money. Because we are currently providing legal assistance for people at 125% of poverty.
Of federal poverty guidelines. Which is a mathematical equation, but it's very confusing.
And don't ask me,
just means
I'm not a mathematician. It means you're poor people, who can't otherwise get assistance. One of my mottos has always been, and I tell my lawyers this: we're going to provide $1 million services on a dime budget. And that's my mantra to my staff, and also to the public.
Okay, so we definitely have domestic injunctions, victim services, services relating to paternity, to child custody, divorce,
we do
etc.
Adoption, temporary custody, and guardianships as well. So, and
what about wills? Do you do wills?
We do wills for seniors who may be facing catastrophic, mostly seniors, but people who may be facing a catastrophic disease, and who are literally staring at end of life. We will provide wills. We also do powers of attorney for anybody that qualifies. We do advanced directives.
Wow.
We do, yeah.
See, that's the
medical
thing the public
surrogacies.
Doesn't know.
Yeah.
What landlord-tenant,
And
correct?
we're starting heirs. Yes. And oh gosh, landlord-tenant,
That's a
dear
big,
to my heart.
Yeah, right.
And we're doing an heirs property project. We just started an heirs.
What is that?
Heirs property is, how do you keep property generationally? How do you maintain control of property generationally?
Well,
I
now,
have a
how
house.
does somebody who's indigent how do you qualify when you got property that you're going to give to an heir?
Well, we have one program under Funding Florida Legal Aid, which used to be the Iola fund of the Florida Bar.
Okay.
It has a little bit higher. Those guidelines are higher.
Okay.
Actually, at present, they haven't even established an upward limit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we can help you, and usually we're talking about seniors, issues related to
Right.
children, issues related to single mothers, those are the clients for the FBF or Florida FFLA, which is Funding Florida Legal Aid, and that's a statewide program.
Gotcha.
And we can do we are doing an heirs property project that's aimed primarily at minority communities, because within the minority community, you have people who, I own a house, but my children may not know how to, or I may not know how to preserve that property for my heirs.
Right, when you die.
Yeah, when I die. So we are helping people to literally maintain generational property ownership through that program.
See, this is how do you get? I mean, no, and this is why I wanted you, because I know you do so much. Let's talk about driver's license.
Driver's license restoration. Yes, we do.
That's huge.
And we look at, we have to abide by the, FDLE guidelines.
Right.
So if we look at the feasibility, whether or not a person can actually get the license,
get their
and we try to negotiate the payment plans. We work with the state and try to get them to agree. And so far they've been very cooperative in helping people get their licenses restored. Now, if you are habitual and you're not going to qualify.
I got it, but the benefit is to the entire community.
Absolutely.
Because if someone is on the straight and narrow, they've decided they're going to turn their lives around, they're going to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. What benefit is it to not give them a driver's license so that they lose their job, they can't take care of their family, they can't do, there is no benefit to that.
Correct. And when people can drive and get to work, they will go to work.
They will.
They will not have to rely on the state to take care of them.
And we don't have public transportation. We have a little bit, but
it's not like New York.
No. You can't have a regular job and use public transit. No.
What is it? Uber's too expensive. Lyft is too expensive.
Right.
And I'm glad that the minimum wage went up to 15. I'm hoping that we can push that even farther up to the living wage. But, of course, we can't lobby. But, that needs to happen.
Right.
But, the idea of preventing someone from being able to access employment by keeping their driver's license away from them, that is absolutely ridiculous.
Exactly.
So that is why we developed that drive to work, or back to driving restoration, license restoration.
Well, and so often people it's just going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they have a $150 fine that they didn't pay for 1 year and 5 years, and now with interest and the collection agency fees and everything, we're talking about $150 fine is $10,000.
Right, and that's what we want to prevent. The other thing, I bet you didn't know this, we do expungements as well.
Oh, I know this, but I'm glad you brought it up. Okay,
yeah.
Explain what that is, Iola.
Well, with an expungement, if you have a withhold of adjudication, or you have been found not guilty, or the case was dismissed,
right,
you have a right to have that record sealed or expunged,
right,
from the judicial record.
Right.
And people come to us, we get the clearances from FDLE, we give them everything that they need. Generally, the state has not objected, but they can, and if they do, we will go to court to fight to make certain that Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so is not carrying forward a criminal record, because that can be such an impediment to job, to getting a job.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, that's why we established that program.
Well, and people will ask the question, well, I want to get this expunged. Can I get the paperwork? And I'm like,
have them call us.
Yeah,
have them call
because
us.
I couldn't fill out the paperwork.
Yeah, I know.
It's so complicated. I mean, I could, but you know what I'm saying. It's complicated.
It is.
It's burdensome. You need a lawyer to help you navigate through that and get it to the right places, get all the people to sign off on it. And it's complicated.
Yes. And we do the communication with the FDLE and get the clearance so that they can then go in and, you know, get the expungement. We give them the paperwork.
Right. Right.
But we also, you know, everybody is not going to be entitled to an expungement.
Right.
But you can have a record sealed. And once a record is sealed, court action is required to unseal it.
Right.
It can be unsealed for various reasons, but the law it's very narrow when you can unseal a record. If you
there's a difference. I didn't even know this.
Expungement and sealing.
Oh, okay.
Expungement means it absolutely goes away, never happened.
Okay.
Sealing means it happened, but we are going to close the books on it, and it's not going to appear in the criminal record.
Okay.
And we have specialists on board who that's what they do. We also do benefits, public benefits, Social Security, food stamps, and any Medicare, Medicaid. You know, we provide assistance and paperwork, and we file the paperwork in order to clear up. Oh, yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
We got about 30 seconds.
Okay.
How you guys are a treasure chest of help.
Thank you.
To poor people, and I commend you and I applaud you. What if someone needs help and is watching? What do they do? Is there a number to call? Is there? Do they go online? Tell us what you do.
There are 3 ways to start the intake process.
Okay.
One is by calling 888-582-3410 and asking for intake.
Okay.
Or you can go online if you go to our website, which is www.frls.org. There is an online intake process.
Okay.
Or you can stop by our office and we will do the intake in the office if you're physically in our Fort Pierce office. Stewart is usually reserved for just, you know, trial preparation for the Martin County Court.
Okay.
But if you come to our office in Fort Pierce or our office in Lakeland or Fort Myers or West Palm, Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County.
Great.
We can do the intake right there on the spot.
You're wonderful.
You're wonderful. Thank you.
Iola.
And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.